Welcome everyone. So we are a couple of minutes after, so let's get started. If you don't have the link to the meeting minutes, here is it again. So feel free to jump in on the meeting minutes and add your names or add any topics that you have that you want to discuss. All right, so welcome everyone to the Layer5 community meeting. Today is the 5th of November and we have a couple of newcomers join our community this week, and some of you are on the call. So, Gerard, would you like to introduce yourself to the community and get introduced?
Yeah, sure. Hi, guys. So I'm a student at Cal State San Marcos. I live in San Diego. I just had a buddy. He showed me kind of the LFX mentorship program and saw you guys' program on there. And yeah, just, I don't really know much about what's going on, but I would like to learn about it. So glad to be here.
Yeah, Jared, that's great. You're in good company if most of the rest of us don't necessarily know what's going on either. So there's a lot of tech that flies around, and a lot of people bringing different things to the table, but universally everybody learning something. So that's good. That's good of you to jump in. Did you end up getting access to a few different resources, probably more than you'd cared for?
No, yeah, I got some links to some stuff. So okay. I just kind of glanced over it, but yeah, I'll be taking a look at some point.
Sure. Yeah. There's a lot in the community drive. So nice.
Great to have you, Gerard. Welcome to the community.
Thank you.
We also have Oscar Gonzalez joining us today. So Oscar, would you like to introduce yourself? Oh, Oscar doesn't have a mic. So Oscar, you can introduce yourself in chat, and I'm sure everyone will come and say hi to you. All right. Is there anyone else who hasn't had a chance to introduce themselves? All right. If so, feel free to jump in on chat and introduce yourself. So, all right, let's get started with today's topics. First up is Debapriya. She'll be talking about a new section in the Layer5 website called Topics. So, Debapriya, would you like to take it from here?
Yeah, I'll share my screen.
Yep, sounds good.
Okay, so on the Layer5 website, we already have a collection called blogs where we share a lot of stuff written by the community members. Most of these blogs are informative, but they also have a lot of personal experiences and announcements of sorts. So, which is why we have decided to create a separate section for only resources which are informative. These are for basically factual information for everyone to access to learn about new things. So right now, as you can see, this is exactly in the similar format as the blogs that we have. So we're looking for volunteers who want to write. If you're into blogging, if you want to try out technical writing, you can come up with content to publish over here. So these sources right now, we're looking for published articles. Eventually, we can also have tutorials or videos of any sort. So anyone who's interested, you can write articles for this page. Now, of course, it has need not be completely original. What you basically have to do is hunt for information, select specific topics, and you can go look at documentations like this one. or different other resources that are already available. Just hunt for information and present them in a very organized manner in the form of an article, which will go here. So if anyone who is interested into writing these articles, you can text me. But we also have a content calendar over here. So under articles tab here, I have created this table sheet. You can add the topic you're interested to work on, add your name, and I'll contact you. So that is regarding the content that we need. We also need people to work on this page itself. So since these are published articles, unlike blogs, these are timeless, so they don't have a contributor, specific contributor or a time associated with it. So we need something other than this format. I was thinking probably maybe a search bar, because this page will have a lot of information which can be categorized based on keywords. So if someone's searching for a particular topic, they can search it here and the relevant information can be displayed. So all the newcomers or anyone on the community, if you have more suggestions, you can pass them on. We can work on it together on enhancing this page. So this is basically it about this new collection called, which you can find under topics over here. So anyone who's interested, you can talk to me on Slack, GitHub, anywhere where you feel comfortable. Yeah, that's all from my end. I hope I was clear enough.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. There are other folks on the call. Deepak, Mr. Wick, who's already looking to participate here as well. So, yep, there's lots of things, lots of technologies that are used between the projects, and opportunities for each of you to, well, write a blog, or potentially on smpspec.io, which is the Service Mesh Performance website, on meshery.io, which is the Meshery project site, on getnighthawk.dev, which is the Nighthawk project website, or on layer5.io, in two places. And this is what Devopriyo is saying, is that like in the blog there, which many of you have already, Devopriya is helping create a new area that's set aside specifically for longer lived information for people about, like something like an example topic here is like learn how to write WebAssembly filters for Envoy using Rust, I think is the topic. And so it's a bit more timeless than what you would find in a blog post. It's moving outside of the blog post format gives us an opportunity to make sure that it's always updated. Some of the blog posts were well done, but they were done like a year ago on Meshery CTL, for example. And Meshery CTL doesn't work like that anymore. And so we clearly want to continue forth with blog posts, but also there's other resources, other topics, resources that people can get to. So some of you have given talks. One of you, or some of you, are giving talks at KubeCon China coming up on Meshery. And so that's a place to capture, just another place to capture info. So there's a lot to do in the community other than code. There's a lot of things outside of code. As a matter of fact, there's just as much non-coding things to do. And so writing things like this is a great way to reinforce your own learning, because if you got to write it down, then you've got to learn, know it. It's also, writing lasts for a long time, sometimes longer than code does. So it's always a great reference to be able to point back to your contributions. So, and for some of you who've been here a real long time, you've absolutely personally benefited from the grandeur and glory of the projects. So the more that the projects do and the better received they are in general, the better that reflects on you as an individual, and vice versa. Actually, the brighter that all of you are, and the more interesting things that you're doing on the projects are, the better that the projects look. And so So consider taking Devopriya up on her offer. I think it's a good thing for the projects and for you. Cool.
Thank you, Devapriya. Thank you, Lee. So you can reach out to Devapriya to get involved in this initiative. So moving on to our next topic, we have a demo of the updated pattern configurator UI from Abhishek. Abhishek, would you like to show us?
Yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah. So hoping this is Firefox. We have been changing the pattern configurator UI, and yeah, just replace this icon. And now, if you have seen the previous UI, so all the things are elevated. It kind of looks odd since it's just one page and everything is just settled there. So why elevation gives a look that something is elevated or something is popped out of the context, so which is not making sense. That's why I just removed this. Other than that, yeah, there's some changes in the RJSF styles. It is taken from the mesh map UI. Yeah, the hard work of the people there. I have just okay. Now mind, I have added an icon from where you can toggle the view for customized configuration, like as we were doing inside. There are two types of there are two ways where you can there are two ways how you can change the configuration or make things out there. So yeah, so you can select any of these, like for the core components there are only two RJSF forms, so you can either choose applications or Kubernetes service, so you can just make changes there. Right, so changes are actually real time, so whenever you change, whenever you write something here, so it just gets reflected there. So yeah, you can see here. So other than that, that's basically this change. And we have already also added like the versioning of the meshes, like Istio supports versions, different Istio adapter support different versions. So yeah, you can just check out all the versions of here and select what suits best for you. Other than that, yeah, the same thing goes here too. So you can just configure authorization policies, and then check like what else you can do, like sidecar injection in Istio. So yeah, definitely you can do it. And everything you will do here is updated real time here. So you, once your like everything looks correct, yeah, definitely you can change your name here, the name of the pattern that you just updated, like my new pattern for the instance. So you see, yeah, if you have checked out this UI earlier, so there was a lot of lags in the UI, but since it's just fixed in with the current PR we have raised. So yeah, so that was actually the change. So you can just save pattern as a new file and update. So these are all the previous things, so past things, like yeah. So these are the new changes, and the PR is up for review. And yeah, one who is like really wants to do the review. Other than that, there are some things that still need to be changed here. So definitely need support for new community members on these. Like choosing the better icons for selection of configuration, RJSF configuration forms. Like a lot of icons have been just picked up randomly and without any thought. So yeah, yeah, I'm really bad in it. So yeah, definitely needs a good help there. So everything you can see here. So yeah, meanwhile, yeah, that was actually change. So if you are only the adapters that are alive, that are running in your cluster, or that you have run in the background or in the Docker environment, will be visible there. And one thing that is still left is this one, that's try separating Kubernetes from the meshes. and I just thought of a better user interface or user experience, but couldn't think of it. That's why I just dropped this and left only like what he suggests and other communities. So that was the update. Okay. Yeah, that was it.
Comments on Abhishek's PR. I'm sure like Lee was about to say something. the pin checkbox.
This one. This one.
I think it's for the application.
Yeah.
It's like yeah, I get it's probably neon enough that it's could be considered retro, like, you know, sort of back to like the 80s neon kind of a, I don't know, it's hot, I guess. Yeah. Cool. Well, what do other people think about yeah, about, I mean, so something for all, I mean, like, so Abhi is asking for feedback. There are some things that he's still working through, and he's calling for assistance on identification of like appropriate icons. But he's also calling for feedback on user experience. And one of the better ways, there's a bunch of things to think about user experience, but one of those starting points is like, what's the task at hand? So what's the user trying to do? What's their goal? Like what goals they have in mind? For some user, you know, like there'll be different flows for that. One flow is a user comes in and they're starting from scratch. Like they don't have a service mesh deployment yet. They don't have their workloads on it yet. And so they'd like to go through and do a little bit of discovery, like understand what the service mesh is capable of and what it offers to them and their workloads. Okay, so we you know, in some respects, the ability to just browse through the components through that pick list or that drop-down list, that's helpful. There's a bit of perusing and discovery that can happen in there. Although if we chase down that use case quite a bit about helping people discover features, there's a whole epic in there. There's a whole, like, helping them apply and understand that, you know, like there's, for some of the components that are shown, there's a really long description of what they are. Sometimes that description is hidden in a small info box. I think, you know, that's good. People can go, generally, we don't want to show them all that text, but so people can go look at the descriptions. The descriptions themselves, though, those really aren't going to facilitate discovery and a better understanding of what goes on, because those descriptions are kind of auto-generated and fairly nerdy, you know, or fairly technical. Anyway, something for all of you to think about that flow of the discovery flow. The other flow is, well, is that, you know, so people have their infrastructure running. There's going to be a set of common patterns, a set of common solutions that people can pull from. So like one that's configured for like best practices for retries, or best practices for security policies that they can pull in and apply. And so, yep, that's another thing to think about. Like right now, or very soon, Istio or Meshery will be shipping with any number of predefined patterns. Right now, people can open up those patterns and modify them. And that's helpful. We don't have, the system doesn't have other constructs around it to prevent people from doing that. So that's, right now, that's okay. I know some those user experience flows that we're talking about right there, those are big. Like, those are kind of hard to think through. It's like, okay. I mean, for some of you, you've been focused on it for long enough that it's okay. You can work through some of those scenarios. For others of you, it might just be things like more about user experience from the interactions that are happening right here One of those being, well, it can be really nice that you have to go over and click the save icon, because then you're for sure like, yeah, that's what I wanted. I want to save that. Or it can be just kind of an unnecessary hassle that like maybe you just want it auto saving. Now, if there's auto saving going on, the need for an undo becomes, I would think, becomes even more important than the need for it is today. So Mesh3 doesn't track versions of this thing. So if you've made a change and you've saved it, you know, that's it. That's the doc. That's the version. Anyway, just kind of thinking aloud about some things that not all of those are necessarily easy to address. Another thing that I think all of you can play around with and sort of ponder on is, so Abhi, if you go to the lifecycle menu and you see under the lifecycle menu, there are any number of service meshes to manage. So you'd say, well, we're running Kuma, and so I want to manage my Kuma deployments. Okay, and so as someone clicks there, and maybe you're not running that adapter, so maybe nothing will happen. But
yeah, actually I'm on 3000 port also, so that will take time to build up.
Sure. So, but it's like once they've built the pattern, how do they apply it? From what interface do they do that? And that's probably much more about this interface, like applying it and affecting their infrastructure. This is probably much more of an infrastructure-centric view here. And that becomes the difference between really configuring patterns and managing infrastructure real time. Yeah, anyway. Things to think on. I mean, Abhi, it's coming together, you know, pretty nicely. If you go back one time real briefly on the YAML that was being shown, on the right-hand side, there was a button on the toolbar, the second from the right. So that's an exit, that's a toggle view. So that hides the YAML?
No, that's a toggle view. I should give a better name. I just give it. So there are two views that are available right now. So one is list view, that it has a list, so everything is there with the help of, previously, so in the form of accordions. And the other is the single form at single time. So you can just choose one from many. So there are only two options available, so you can, and then do the things. Yeah. So yeah, I just about to fix the scroll position. So it's, yeah. So for this is that is meant for that. So toggle view is for the only it only measures the left side of this thing. So yeah, just forms.
Nice, good. And then we'll have to give some consideration about if you click the exit button or the X, that returns
exit
you back.
buttons returns back, yeah. Okay. Without any changes. So no save, no updates. No.
Gotcha. Yeah. Anybody else have feedback for Abhi before we move on?
Thank you, Abhi, for the demo. It looks really good. All right. So moving on to the next topic, Nitesh has been stewarding the refactor of Measuring Ui, and Nitesh has some things to mention about particular areas that new contributors and others can get involved in this initiative. So Nitesh, would you like to take on from here?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Navinda. Okay, so yeah, one of the major things that's going on with Measuring Ui is the re-architecting of the whole Measuring Ui. That is, yeah, the current architecture that we have is not that robust. That is like if we have like considering the future of Measure UI and the complex state that it's going to have, it would not be, we would not be able to manage it without re-architecting. That was the conclusion that we came to after thinking thoroughly about it and going through it. And we also have a design spec that discusses the problems that it's aimed to solve, and also some of the considerations that we've had also, and reasons why we decided to go with this approach. So it actually tries to bring in Redux observable, and yeah, using Redux Tunk. So yeah, if you're into that, then you can take a look at, like, I mean, yeah, you can take a look at this design spec. I have linked this in the community meeting minutes over here. So that is that. And if you want to, if you're someone who's into UI and want to start contributing to Measure UI, then you can, yeah, actually there's the re-architecting process is going on right now, and people are actually working on it as well. So as of now, we are actually planning on creating the globally reusable UI components so that we can build on top of them. So this is we have a spreadsheet where we are actually tracking all those components that are being written right now. So, and people are also working on it right now. So yeah, we have these many components that are to be written. And if you are interested, you can just you can like feel free to come in here and put your name in here and try creating something. Also, like if you don't know where to get started, then we also have a contribution guidelines for how to get started in this particular initiative. It's not actually general to the whole ministry, but it will be soon. But yeah, this particular readme file will point you in the direction in which you should go. So yeah, and yep, it's a like it would be pretty interesting also. So if you're into UI, and this would be a huge treat for you.
Nice.
Yep. Yeah, that's it from my side.
Sounds good, Nitish. So as Nitish mentioned, the link to the spreadsheet and the other docs that explain what this initiative is in the meeting minutes. So you can see here, and the link to the meeting minutes is in the chat. So feel free to add your names and take one of these up if you are up for it and if you are interested. And you can reach out to Nitish in the Layer5 Slack if you have any questions. All right. For the next topic, I don't think Nikhil or Anita are on the call today. Lee, do you have an update on the draft announcement? Or
Oh yeah. Yeah, so there's a handful of you that have been, and some that are on the phone now that have been working on, well, this thing that we're referring to as learning paths. So there's a lot of free training resources available on layer5.io under /learn. So books, some of which are free and some of which, like, yeah, O'Reilly's going to ask you for money for, but the rest of this stuff I think is free. So there's workshops that are self-study. There's interactive labs, and now there's learning paths, which is kind of neat because it's like a collection of, it's basically like a couple of courses that you would take in a row as part of a learning path. There's just this initial one right now that supports Istio and Linkerd. And so there's a lot more to be built out, a lot more courses to be built out with, and new learning paths to be built out. Part of so this initial kind of soft launch, if you will, is provides the framework for additional learning paths for people to take quizzes and ultimately certify their knowledge on service meshes, and not necessarily on a specific one. There are 2 other certifications on service meshes out there today. They won't be as good as this one. Or we will see. Like, they're both focused on Istio and only Istio, and they're decent, or heck, I don't know, I haven't taken them, but you got to assume that they are. Now, Meshery, is well positioned to help people to do this for any service mesh. I've spoken with the general manager of the Linux Foundation's training. So the organization that presides over the Kubernetes, the couple of Kubernetes certifications that are there. So as a matter of fact, he's a friend. He doesn't live too far away. We've discussed the notion of bringing forth a service mesh certification and one in general. And so this is kind of a precursor to what that might be. We will see. So anyway, I think the today's announcement or call to action is one, go try out this first learning path, see how it works, fits on you. Give feedback, find bugs if there are any. The other thing is there's a draft blog post that kind of announces this. It's currently in an open pull request. So Anita, Meshmate Anita has a draft of it. So she's looking for feedback. And then Meshmate Nikhil Lata, actually that's funny. There's two Meshmates that have been working on this. But Nikhil Lata had spent a lot of time on the learning paths. And so finally the V1 is ready. Yeah, go give it a shot, go review the blog post. And eventually we'll send this out in an email to those that are on the mailing list. I was just talking with Pact Publishing this morning about a book on Linkerd. And for many of you know that that's like the last thing that I want to do is write another book. There's already one in flight on service mesh patterns with O'Reilly. And so if someone gets really hot and serious about creating a course or an advanced course on Linkerd, because there's only an intro course on Linkerd out there now, then I'll probably come talk to you about whether or not you want to write a book. So that was it.
Thank you, Lee. You can check out these courses from the link shared in chat and give feedback. And yep. All right. Next up, Sikiranda, would you like to talk about your advances in contextual errors in Measure-CTL and hopefully get more people to participate with you?
Hello, am I audible?
Yep, you are audible.
Okay, thank you, Navendo. Now I think let me share my screen. The error messages in most Measure-CTL commands that are auto-generated, the errors that are caught by the Cobra framework or the Cobra library, they are not so elaborate. They in most cases give fuzzy messages that the user most probably cannot figure out. So I'm on a quest to kind of enhance them. Now, like there are some PRs that are in the meeting minutes that you can check out. Now, like this Measure-CTL system channel, switch and set, they had some commands that were not really, that were giving really unhelpful errors. So if I do something like system set and I put an empty string, it will give me an error, but at least it will tell me, wait. System channel, sorry. It will give me an error, but it will tell me no release channel subscription found. Please use either stable or release channel. And if I do like Measure-CTL system switch and I put some gibberish. No, I think I'm running on the original. I'm not on the branch, but all in all, we need to change these errors, like how you can see here in the code. Like I first check the channel to see whether it's stable or it's not. Then no, let me switch to my branch. So I want people to come and maybe collaborate with these. You can see I have already they've merged one pull request, but these two I'm still finding a hard time, especially with mesh deploy, the one that hangs at verifying prerequisites. I really need some help on that. And this one too, but I'm almost done with this one.
So,
Second round, can you say, sorry, Nabendu, second round, can you say just a little bit more about the help that you might need on the system channel errors issue?
The system, okay. Basically now, like the one in this branch, the one in system channel, the one that verifies whether it's a valid channel. I really don't know whether it continues, it goes ahead to set the channel. I just catch the error in this function here, the cobra.minimum, not cobra.minimum ads. I made my own. So I just need help with kind of relating it. You know, these are like, they are backend, but they do not go so deep in patterns and tokens. And so I just need someone to help me figure out what exactly the effects of tampering with commands coming in can have on things like the measurectl config, whether it could break something in the backend or yeah, something like that. But overall, I've only found hard time with this one. Mesh deploy fix where it hangs at verifying prerequisites. Let me see if I can find that. It seems to hang at a certain, there is a link where it makes a request to that link, but the request does not return, it just hangs. So I don't know whether the problem is with my local setup or it's what exactly is the bug. In that case, then I would really need help because I haven't figured out why the request is hanging.
Yeah, totally. There's more than 5 people on this call that would make excellent partners or like excellent sounding boards to kind of collaborate with this on. And as I normally do by doing things that are otherwise awkward, I'm going to call out Jibril as a potential candidate to engage and maybe provide some feedback here. Jibril has traversed his way through some mesh-CTL and some GitHub Actions and some other things. And so, Jibril, I don't know if this is something you might reach out to Sikranda on.
Yeah, sure. Just message me on Slack. I'll be willing to help.
Nice. I'll message the two of you guys.
So anyone that's interested, you can reach me on Slack and we'll see how to go about it. I think that's all from me. Thank
This
you.
is great. By the way, Sikranda, what time zone are you in?
I'm in GMT +3.
Okay, gotcha.
Although I'm most active, like from like 1 hour before the measuring meeting starts up to all the way, maybe up to 6 a.m. in GMT +3.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sekaranda. So there is an open need to propagate this behavior across all measure CTL commands, and there are a lot of commands. So this is easy to get involved if you are interested in Golang. So feel free to reach out to Sekaranda to get more info on what exactly we need to do. And there are a couple of PRs that are linked in the meeting minutes, which can provide you more context within the code as well. So yeah, thanks again, Sekaranda, for taking this up and picking up this initiative as well. All right. So in the last week's CNCF tag network call, we had Jacob from Google come in and explain about the Nighthawk's adaptive load controller. And one of our goals in this community was to leverage Nighthawk's adaptive load control capabilities to run performance benchmark tests. So there is an open need for writing custom plugins for Nighthawk's adaptive load controller. And I know a couple of you have joined this call just to get involved here. So so you'll be working with mostly C++. So to give some quick context on what we will be doing is, so Nighthawk has all of these components which are pluggable. So what the ask here is to write custom components, custom plugins that works with Nighthawk's adaptive load controller. And I have linked some example implementation of this plugins here. So you can check that out as well to get an idea on what we are going to be building. So yeah, as shown here, like all of these plugins, all of these are pluggable. So if you are interested in getting involved here, there is a performance channel in the Layer5 Slack. So most of the discussion around this would be happening in that channel, and feel free to jump in and after this call, or if you'd like to take some of these up and explore a bit further. So all right, and is Saumik on the call? Okay. So I don't think Saumik has joined us today. So like I'll just move on to the next topic from Vedant. Oops. I guess Vedant is also not on the call as well. Does anyone have context on these two topics?
Yeah, actually I have on both. So Sumik's topic is not worth discussing unless he's here, because it was really about explaining mesh sync to him, its current behavior, and then some areas of need inside of mesh sync. And so that's good for everyone to hear, but will fail if he's not here. So to hear it. And then so we could, that could potentially be an item for this coming Wednesday's community meeting or Meshery development meeting on Vedant's item there. Anytime that someone stars one of the 70 plus repos that go across the 5 GitHub orgs that we all work with, there's a workflow that kicks off to send a quick message in the Buzz channel in Slack. And so the ask there was just going to be so this is the one here. So if you're unfamiliar with GitHub workflows or GitHub actions, like this is one right here. This is a workflow that uses an action. This needs to be refactored just slightly. So in every single workflow in each repo, we see where that last line, it says, so-and-so, the GitHub actor just starred layer 5. And it says layer 5 because that's the name of the repo that you're currently on, is the layer 5 repo. So that's why it says layer 5. But that's having to be hard coded in every single repo, when it really can just be some environment variable like github.repo or I don't know what it is, but that was going to be the discussion. And so actually for anyone who's on the call that wants to explore that, understand it, and identify what the appropriate environment variable is, and, have at it. That would be great. The community, by the way, has produced 4 different GitHub actions. And there are 2 more hopefully on the way. And they actually need help because the 2 people who are working on it now, Sayantan and Adina, are both having trouble. But there's one for that one right there, the service mesh patterns action. This is it's 11 days old repo. The goal here, and maybe this is interesting to Jibril or maybe Rudraksh, I don't know, is that there are different things to do with Meshery CTL, different functions. And we could have one, so to hear Rudraksh speak to it, he would tell you, you could have one GitHub action that lets you execute any Meshery CTL command that you want to send it. But the way that action would be written and the way that you would use it would be kind of unwieldy and not very fun, and so we expect that many people are going to use Meshery CTL to apply service mesh patterns. Patterns were the thing that Abhi was showing earlier, where he was showing how to configure a pattern visually. Well, once you've configured it visually and you have that YAML file, it's like, hey, you might just want to take that and apply it in a pipeline. And to make that easy for people to do, well, let's have an action, a Meshery CTL action for applying patterns. So that's what this repo is about. Yep. So it's a relatively straightforward use case to apply a pattern, Meshery CTL pattern apply, Meshery CTL pattern delete. So yeah, so if you want to, so we digressed, I think, from whatever we were talking about before, actions, workflows. Cool, so what's next? Okay. Who's got other items? Are we gonna end early today, or do we have other things to talk about? People wondering what's going on. We're going to give I don't know, at least a couple KubeCon talks. There's some project hours to have for service mesh performance and for Meshery at KubeCon China, that is. I think the CFP for KubeCon EU is probably, it's probably open right now. So we should tell the world about some things, some stuff that you all are doing. So which means if you want to submit, let's go submit, or you go submit, just, or let's go submit or whatever. But we should tell people about things. What else? Oh yeah. So significantly, we are Meshery as the project that we spend the most time on. but we did talk about SMP and Nighthawk today a little bit. So Anand and Anirban, I think, just jumped off so that they were going to work on Nighthawk. Navendu, we got to probably make a hard cut. Like either they need to be able to build Nighthawk, or we should find them a different project because, sorry. So the main project, Meshery, that we spend a lot of time on, it's currently on a 0.5.70 release. So it is tippy-toeing. It's like right on the precipice of having a .6 release, which is, to use semantic versioning nomenclature, that's a minor release, but to this project, it's a major release. Like there'll be new architectural components, like patterns will go into beta, applications and filters will be in beta. And so we are, I think, Abhi, pending the work that you were just demoing, we're there, the project is there. So it's a good time for people like Sikranda to be identifying UX issues and other bugs as we go to harden the release. So that's probably the other significant thing to talk about. So some of you have written up blog posts to help announce the capabilities. Some of you have written documentation on those capabilities. Good time to reflect just before we get that release out. So next week, I think. Anybody have anything else for today? Yeah, all right. So next week, what do we, so on Monday, we've got the WebAssembly filters call. We've got the websites call as well. And so we might see some of you there. Yeah, there's the calendar. Yeah, other than that, have a great weekend, everybody. Nice to see everybody. Nice to have some fresh faces as well. Jared, kudos to him for turning on his webcam. Like he makes everybody else look really shy. We'll just embarrass everyone. Yeah. We will put everyone else to shame, so that way they're forced to turn on webcams.
Lee, one thing that is worth mentioning is the daylight savings. So meetings might shift timing. So I don't know, when does it start and what are the changes?
Sunday night, yeah. Sunday night, daylight savings. Just be aware of that. Yep. Cool. See everybody soon. Yeah. See you
Bye,
next
guys.
week. Bye.